This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
It's time to say goodbye to hold music and say hello to fast customer support with Service Cloud. With trusted AI and data working together, you can skip long wait times and deliver efficient, personalized service right away, all while keeping support costs low and more customers happy. Reimagine your customer support with the #1 AI CRM for service. Learn what's possible at salesforce.com/products/service.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to this podcast. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Age of Jeremy. I am the leader when it comes to advice with business content creation, software, taxes, investment, education, and all of the hobbies that I enjoy. And that's what I'm trying to bring to you. Also follow our podcast network, the Age of Radioverse, on Instagram at Age of Radioverse, over 100 podcasts strong and growing. You can also check me out on TikTok at Age of Jeremy and Twitter at Age of Jeremy Q. If you want to be on this podcast and chat, email me at jeremy.quintanilla@ageofradio.org. There's going to be a link in the episode description so you can check it out there and get it and shoot me over an email. We're looking for small business owners and influencers to share their stories, no matter how small, no matter how big. We love a good story. And if you've been listening to her for a while, this is actually the last week. Actually, you might have shut it off. You can check it out at 3twarrioracademy.com. See if you can still get your 2022 Freedom Conference tickets. They're on sale. I think, I'm not 100% sure. We might have turned off the funnel. It's a wealth building conference. Coach JV will be talking about mindset. Porter Shumway will be talking about insurance and how to grow your wealth and insurance vehicles. Crypto Influencer Bearable Bull will be live streamed in and talking about crypto. Jordan Harry will be speaking about speed learning and protecting your assets. We'll also have our technical analysis team there and crypto's research team there hosting panels. So you should definitely check it out if the tickets are still open. If not, you're going to have to wait until next year when we have our another conference, but we're going to be changing it up a lot next year because as everything that we do, we've learned from our past mistakes and we will continue to get better. And that's what we're going to do. But for now, let's go ahead and get on with the show. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. You are listening to Age of Jeremy. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm the co-founder of Age of Radio and 3T Fitness, and, well, other businesses that I am working on. This podcast is about everything that I learn and the trials and tribulations it took to learn them. I hope you enjoy. All right, so I was supposed to have a interview with Abs, the head of 3T Good Morning Crypto Show. He's the host, so if you don't know about our Good Morning Crypto Show, go and check it out on YouTube. It's on the 3T Warrior Academy page. It's Good Morning Crypto. And it's a show where we talk about the crypto news and we kind of goof off. I don't want to say goof off because we are talking about news, but we kind of give our thoughts. We have people come in. We've had Showtime. I forgot his full username, but we've had Showtime. We've had Jordan Harry. We've had Jenna XRP, but it's really a crypto show. And I really wanted to talk to Abs to kind of get an idea of how he's feeling on the show. And then also to learn a little bit more about how he got into investing, how he got into crypto, how he got into bodybuilding, because I believe that he's going strong in the bodybuilding, because his body keeps getting better, I guess, whenever I see him. And I will be actually able to see him in live in person this week. So I kind of wanted to have him on the show, but it was Easter weekend. His family was able to get out to him in Florida. He's originally from Massachusetts. He's a Patriots fan, so no hard feelings there, I guess. And I just wanted to kind of have him on the show to chit chat, but he wasn't able to do it. And then I got busy over the weekend with Easter, obviously. Friday, I was doing taxes for our Phoenix crypto assets. team. And so I spent all day doing that into the evening, got that done. So I really made a lot of headway. And from there, I was able to realize that I did not have anything planned for this podcast. So I woke up today, Monday, and this is supposed to come out on Tuesday. So you should be hearing it on Tuesday. And I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. And there's some interesting things going on with the Age of Radio company. We utilize a company called Megaphone that's owned by Spotify. And with that company, Spotify has drastically dropped their cost per thousand for their ad that they're selling, and we get a cut of that. So some of the hosts are a little bit mad or frustrated, very rightly so, because of the decrease in income. And it just got me thinking that I haven't really talked a lot about the podcast company or how to even start a podcast on this podcast. And podcasts are important to me because I am a big advocate for freedom of speech. Not in the sense that you hear Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter because, they're not for freedom of speech, not in that sense, but our freedom of speech against the government and to stand up to the government. Now, I'm not a right-wing capitalist. I'm not a centrist capitalist. I'm not even a left capitalist. If anything, I would be considered what most people would think of as a communist, and I'm trying to get better at vocalizing that because it doesn't sit with a lot of people's political views of today. But I believe in democratizing the workforce, not in the sense of what you think of communism when it comes to what is happening in North Korea or happening in China where there's a dictatorship. And I don't want to go into that here. But I do believe in the democratizing the workforce, and I do believe in freedom of speech, where people should be able to get their voice out so they can share knowledge, because the more that you can share knowledge, the less likely you are going to be taken advantage of. And that's why I'm a big advocate for education, because the more educated you are, the less likely someone is going to be taking advantage of you. During the and same thing, and I'm going to reference Che Guevara, but when they were going, trying to take over Cuba, him and Fidel, they were teaching everybody mathematics. They were teaching them literacy. Cuba has one of the highest literacy rates in the world. They also have supposedly one of the best medical systems in the world. But we don't get that information because we're closed off to Cuba because of our fear of that type of communism where there's a dictator. And I don't agree with that part. I do never agree with dictatorship. I agree with the people having the voice and having full rights to vote for major changes that happen, rather than electing someone that can then speak on your behalf, because those people can be, as you see here in the United States, they can be taken advantage of as well by big corporations, or the wealthy people are trying to get money for their campaign or staying in office, which is why I don't believe that that being a politician in certain positions should be a lifelong career. It should be a volunteer career that you do to make the world a better place. And if anything, a short-term stint where you do get paid for living, right, to be able to live, but not to be able to make that into a career. I don't think that it should be a career. But moving all past that side, the reason why I started getting into podcasting is because it's a way for you to get your voice out there. And unless the marketplace on which you're distributing your platform or distributing your podcast, such as Spotify or Apple, if they are against that podcast, they can obviously shut it down. But you can still have your RSS feed go out. And if you learn enough about podcasting and how to write your RSS feed and create it yourself, you can always have that feed available to people without having another distribution platform, manage it. And so when we started this, I wanted to create the Age of Radio network because it was super expensive. We were on Libsyn. I was paying for 3 podcasts. It was like $100 a month or something ridiculous at the time. And there are a lot of free plans now. And so on the Age of Radio network, you get free hosting no matter how many episodes you put in. You will never have to pay for it. You can have hours and hours of content, and you will never have to pay for any type of storage. We cover that cost because we focus on advertising on the podcasts, where we either sell our ads ourselves or we utilize Spotify Audience Network because Spotify Audience Network owns Megaphone. And then we also advertise the shows to try to get the shows to grow. And then one of the things that we suck at, but we're trying to do, is cross promote the shows on each of the other podcasts so that people can learn about them. And that is something that we're actively trying to get better at, but we're not good at that yet. But we will get better at it now that my time can go more into Age of Radio. I'm building it into the billion-dollar media company that I know that it can be. Now, that being said, though, I have never really talked about, starting a podcast on here. And I think that if you're a content creator, because I think content creation is one of the most beautiful things, whether that's creating a play or creating a podcast or creating an album, we as human beings love to create. That's what I think makes us so special, is our ability to create things. And in the society that we have, we are stuck in a place where, creativity doesn't get you wealthy. The people that like to create, they don't learn about business. So they can't turn that into a business. And so they end up going into careers that they don't want because they need to make ends meet. And then they do not get to create the way that we as human beings were supposed to create. And Coach JV says this, and it's actually one of the most impactful things that I've ever heard him say. That is, if you want to kill someone, stop them from creating. And that is 100% true, because I am a testament to that, because of all the years that I spent not creating. And it has, and now being in a place where I can create more, that's where I want to spend a lot of my time, is creating beautiful things. And I want to be able to offer that to everybody. And I think that content creators should be able to offer that to everybody. And I also think that one of the things that content creators should have as part of their arsenal is a podcast, because podcasts can be free. They can be expensive. They can be lots of things. And it's a great hobby for people to be in, to go and share their lives and their stories and entertain people and all those things. So I want to talk about how you can get started with podcasting. So essentially, podcasting is, a lot of people think of podcasts as like a YouTube video can be a podcast. Technically, the way that I look at a podcast, and people are going to disagree with me, it's something that you can put on to an RSS feed. You can take that RSS feed, put it onto a distribution platform, and then that feed gets sent up to wherever that RSS feed is. And you can't do that with a YouTube, because YouTube is separate. Where the RSS feed, I go to a hosting platform, I implement all of my audio, I get an RSS feed, I utilize that RSS feed to feed up all of the content. So if you go to Apple Podcasts right now, or on Spotify, if you're listening to this, all those podcasts, they have an RSS feed that's associated with it. That RSS feed then gets fed up to that distribution platform through a hosting site, or manually if you're technically savvy. And that is how people listen to your podcast, is through that feed, sending up the audio and all of the information to it. It is probably one of the most underrated technologies, which is Atom or XML, RSS feed development. And the way that this works, it is one of the most underrated and unknown and understudied, in my opinion, programming languages or forms of scripting or programming, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to feed this up. And we use it all the time and we don't even know it. And so the way that you start a podcast is, the number one thing that you have to do is you have to figure out what you're going to talk about and how you're going to get your audio into your computer. That's one of the hardest parts. The easiest way to do that is to use what's called a digital audio workstation, called Audacity, that's online, that you can connect a USB port just into your computer and record. So all that you would need to do is buy a really good microphone. The microphone that I have is a Neumann microphone. This isn't the best microphone for this. I just like using this, and there's another microphone that I need to buy. But this microphone is for vocals, and it's about $800. It's not the best microphone, like I said, for podcasting. But you can get an Audio Technica microphone that's designed for podcasting for about $300. That's perfect. Or you can get like a Blue Yeti. You can get a Blue Yeti Nano. That is a USB plug and play. The Audio Technica that I just mentioned may not be a USB plug and play, but Audio Technica does have USB plug and play microphones. Zoom Labs has microphones that are USB. So you need to find just a microphone that is USB. You can connect to your computer. It gets the drivers auto downloaded. And then when you open up the digital audio workstation called Audacity, which is free, it will pull that into it. Okay. That is the easiest way to get from your computer microphone, the microphone that's connected to your computer, into your computer to be able to talk. The problem with that is that it's only going to be you in the room and how many microphones you can connect to your computer. Okay. The other way to do it is to utilize Zoom feature, the like having a Zoom conference call, and you can record from the Zoom conference call, and then maybe you can pull that audio into a digital audio workstation and clean it up. I'm not going to go into that too much right here because that's not the point. This is just to get you started if you want to do podcasting. And if you and your friends want to do podcasting, you would need 2 USB microphones. You would need to have something that connect both of those USB microphones into your computer that then allow you to record different channels on Audacity, which is what's called a digital audio workstation. So you need a microphone or microphones, and you need a digital audio workstation. Or if you wanted to do, like I said, do a Zoom call, you could call someone up on Zoom and record it, but the audio is not going to be that great because you would need to take that audio, put it into a digital audio workstation to fix it up and clean it up, to launch it, and to turn it into an MP3 file, which would take a different type of software. So to get started, if you just wanted to have you and your friends do it, you could do it that way with the 2 USB microphones and Audacity. Now, if you wanted to get a little bit more sophisticated, you would research other digital audio workstations. The digital audio workstation I'm recording on right now is called Cubase. It's from a company called Steinberg, which is owned by Yamaha, one of my favorite companies in the world. It's a Japanese music company. They own Bosendorfer, I think I'm saying that right, pianos, and they also own Line 6 guitar equipment. They own the Yamaha jet skis and stuff like that also for some reason. They own Yamaha pianos, all the Yamaha instruments, and they own Steinberg, which creates beautiful software, Cubase, Nuendo, Wavelabs, Dorico, and then they have a bunch of other like music instruments that they play as well, like music software that you can put in, kind of like if you've ever heard of Ableton. And so if you wanted to, you could use Cubase Steinberg. It does have a difficult learning curve. That's why I recommend everybody to use Audacity, because Audacity is free. It's very easy to use. It doesn't have that strong of a learning curve. But if you really wanted to get more into it, you could use Steinberg's Cubase, or you could use a more professional, the other professional systems that people use. You could use what's called Audition by Adobe. That's one of the most popular ones. I believe it's $20 a month. Steinberg, for the version that I have, it's about $499 or $500. It's Cubase Pro. There's the other levels of Cubase, like Cubase Elements is $99. You could try that out. That's what I started with. And then you have Cubase Artist, and then Cubase Pro. So with Audition, it's just $20 a month. It's a subscription base. You get it when things get updated in it. You have access to those things, and you always have that, the software is always updated for you. From there, you could get into Studio One, which is by ProSonus, I think is what it's called. Studio One's a very popular one. Or you could get into the Apple. I never remember Apple stuff, but there's an Apple one that a lot of people use, like GarageBand or something along those lines if you use Apple. And then there's another big studio thing that they have that's really good for audio. But the professional audio people in the world, they either use the Apple one, they use the Adobe Audition one. To some extent, they may use Cubase. ProSonus is getting really big up there. And then the biggest one is Pro Tools, which I don't have a subscription for, but something that I want to learn, because most of these are turning to subscription-based services. So they're always getting that income coming in, and they don't have to wait till they do a launch to get that income. So it makes a continuous revenue stream. So that's a digital audio workstation. It's software that goes on your computer that allows you to your instruments to talk to your computer and to record them. And that's the best way to record podcasts. Now, if you really want to get into it and you just want to talk and share your mind and, share the work, share your thoughts and stuff, kind of like I'm doing right now, you could use a service called Anchor. Anchor is a hosting platform. It's owned by Spotify. Also, they have dynamic ad insertion to help you to get money. A lot of these companies do. And they have, but you can talk into your phone and it records it and it auto puts it on to Apple and Spotify for you. The difficult part is you don't have access to the Spotify and Apple backend unless you go in and accept and claim your podcast, which we'll talk about in a second. So you can start that way. I don't recommend that. I recommend using a digital audio workstation and a USB mic. If you really want to get into it, you need to get a mixing board or some type of hardware that you can connect XLR microphones into and USB microphones into, and have different things that you can do that to set the volumes, adjust your channel strip settings, things of that nature. Now you can do a lot of that inside of the digital audio workstation, but the mixing board is a lot easier to do that and control sound. We use at Age of Radio and myself, we always recommend Zoom products. There are podcast stuff that's made specifically for podcasts. I use a Zoom L8. It's not specifically made for podcasts, but it is a fantastic mixer. It's about $400. We do sell them if you want to reach out to me, or we can reach out and I can talk a little bit more about how all of the podcasting stuff works when it comes to the mixers. But if you really want to get into it, eventually you'd want to have a mixer, right? And then you and your friends could come over, you could put in all of your microphones, you could talk, record into the digital audio workstation, and then have your podcast exported as an MP3. Then what you need to do is you need to upload it to some type of hosting site. So like I said, we use a company called Megaphone. It's a commercial platform. You need at least 20,000 downloads, I think a month or an episode or something along those lines. We have, hundreds of thousands of downloads a month for our podcast network. So we utilize Megaphone. It also gives us a lot of marketing tools to grow our marketing brand. So it's like a commercial platform. So I wouldn't recommend that if you're starting out, unless you wanted to join our network, which it's free and we give you access to our portion of Megaphone so that you can be on our network. But with us, you have to run ads on your show because that's how we recoup some of the money and pay for the hosting, and then give the share to you, and then to pay for advertising to help grow your show. So we're like an all-in-one suite, but we do it from a business perspective, not from a software perspective. So one of the most popular ones is called Buzzsprout. If I were to do one, I would recommend probably looking at Buzzsprout, or a company called Libsyn, or those would be the two biggest ones. Libsyn is actually a publicly traded company that focuses on podcasts, but because it's publicly traded, not because it's publicly traded, it is for profit. So again, you are only allotted a certain amount of hours before you have to start paying. So what I mean by that, if I look up Buzzsprout, and I have it up right here, I had it up right here, where'd it go? So free, okay, there's a free version of Buzzsprout. You can upload 2 hours each month, okay? And those episodes hosted for 90 days, limited 2 hours each month, okay? So you can only host your episodes for 90 days and they fall off, okay? Or it's $12 a month for 3 hours, $18 a month for 6 hours, or $24 a month for 12 hours. Well, sometimes you have a really long episode that's 2 or 3 hours and you want your stuff to constantly be going out. That's the reason why I created Age Radio, because I thought that was fucking ridiculous. We might as well have a place where everybody can come, work together as a community, build a strong community, right? And then we'll find other ways to utilize our audience to make money, right? Through like advertising and then growing it as a business, and this being one aspect of the business. And that's something that I have done, something that I need to do better on when I explain that to people about what Age of Radio is. It's not a podcast hosting company, it just has a podcast hosting arm, right? Because we want to make as much audience as we possibly can so that we can sell advertise to them, so that the hosts never have to pay us for being on the network and they can cross promote. Okay. So a lot of these companies work like this, but Buzzsprout is probably a popular one. Anchor is another popular one. And Libsyn is a really popular one. And there's so many more. You can just type in podcast hosting site. But what that does is it lets you upload your audio, your thumbnail, your description of your podcast, the description of your episodes, and then it creates the RSS feed for you. So you don't have to learn how to create an RSS feed on your own and then serve it up to wherever you're trying to serve up your podcast to. So when you have that podcast hosting site and you have your episode, then you go to Apple and you set up an account, you go to Spotify and you set up an account, you go to iHeartRadio and you set up an account, you go and set up all these accounts and you tell them what your RSS feed is, and then they approve it. And then when you upload to your hosting site and you launch your episode, that podcast then gets sent out across all the distribution channels every time that they update their system, which is usually every single day. So if I loaded a podcast to go out tomorrow morning, I would put that into my podcast hosting platform. In my example, I'll use Buzzsprout, put that in Buzzsprout. I've already set that up to Apple and Spotify and all these other places. And then when that episode launches, tomorrow morning, like this episode will, it goes out to all those places, So you need to go and manually do that. Now, a lot of these softwares, they try to do that for you for some of the bigger ones. What we do here at Age of Radio, which is one reason why we try to make money from the advertisements, is because we manually do all of that for everybody on their behalf. So when you set up your podcast with us at Age of Radio, we give you access to Megaphone, you upload the audio. Once that audio gets first uploaded, then we go and make sure it's set up on all of the platforms. So currently we automatically set up on 15 other platforms. Now this does cause some problems because we have to have an email attached to the feed, but what we're trying to get better at is once that's done, then we change that email. And if you want to go set it up at other places like at Facebook, because we don't currently set it up there, if you want to go set it up at Facebook, then you can. We currently do all of, we have 15 places that we set it up for people, anywhere from iHeartRadio, Luminary, TuneIn, Radio Public, Podcast Addict, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Deezer, JioSaavn. I think it's how you pronounce it. It's an Indian company that's very popular. And so we go and distribute that. And that's essentially how you get a podcast. So you have to find a way to connect your microphone to your computer. Okay. It can either go through a mixer or go directly into your computer. Then it needs to be able to record on something. If you're doing a lot of interviews, I would recommend, and you want to save money, do Zoom conference. Or you can look up other conferencing systems that allow you to record. That's also a possibility, but Zoom is inexpensive and you can see the person while you do it and just record that audio, but then you need to get it converted into an MP3. Okay. And that can be difficult. I use a software called Adobe Media Encoder whenever I want to convert something. But that comes as part of Adobe Audition. So if you were going to do Adobe Audition anyways, you could learn to utilize, say, Adobe Audition as your digital audio workstation and have access to the media encoder. But either way, once you get it recorded on there, you get it exported into an MP3 that gets put into a podcast hosting site. Then you get your RSS feed URL connected to all of the distribution channels like Spotify, Apple. And once that's done, all you got to do is record your episode like I'm doing right now, get it into the format that it needs to be in, traditionally MP3, get it on your hosting site, get it ready to launch. And then the following morning, it goes out to everywhere. And voila, you have a podcast and your voice can be heard by anybody that's following you. Now, a lot of people want to make money with their podcasts. Getting the money to go from ads can be very difficult. Your show has to be very, very entertaining. A lot of people have to like it. One of the better ways to make money, if your show is not, say, an entertaining podcast such as mine, which it can be when I have hosts on here, and it could be entertaining to you, but I'm not doing this to make you laugh. I'm doing this to teach you, to make you part of our Age of Radio and Age of Jeremy ecosystem. So if that's the case, we have ads on here, but I would get a program. Like if I wanted you to go buy my, classes, I could say, go to ageofjeremy.com. You can buy one of my new classes to learn how to do podcasting for, $12.99 or something. You go there, you buy it, I make money, you learn how to do podcasting, and I drove you there from my podcast. That's called content marketing. Okay. Lots of companies do it. And podcasts are a great way to do it. And that's why I think that all content creators should have a podcast, because it's another way for you to get your voice out there. It's another way for you to maybe recycle some of your more, famous, if you're a YouTuber, take some of the things that made you really big on YouTube, reformat them into this type of audio or into this type of content, and then get it out to people and then try to cross-sell them into whatever it is that you're trying to sell. But a lot of people just want to make money off of the ads, and that's fantastic. You can utilize the dynamic ads that are inside a lot of these podcasting platforms. They pay you roughly about $15 for every 1,000 downloads, roughly. Okay. Or you can go to, or you can try to, go and get ads yourself and, go locally, and say, I have a podcast. The problem with local is you would have to know that you have a lot of local listeners, which you may not. So the better thing is to go find companies that have an online presence and then advertise them. And that's what we try to do here at Age of Radio, or Age of Radio Ad Space, which is our marketplace that we're working on creating for Age of Radio to get more advertising for our network so that we can produce more revenue for our hosts. But those are typically the best ways that you make money, right? You're either selling something to your audience, right, that you're trying to build, or selling advertisements for things that you believe in. Like I believe in Intuit. So if I had an affiliate link, I would say, hey, TurboTax time is right now. No better time to get your, TurboTaxes done than, on the 18th, I guess, since taxes are due today. But then I would say in the episode description, there's a link to get, 20% off. Or I do bookkeeping, right? So I have a QuickBooks link. Hey, get a discount using my QuickBook link, and I will help you do your books or whatever. So let's set up a time to talk. Go to my Calendly or calendar or HubSpot calendar or whatever calendar you want. You set them up, and then I can cross-sell you stuff. And so the reason why that works really good is because if they're listening to you and you're giving them this free information and this free content, right? People trust you more, as they should. And then you offer them these things that you believe in, and then they buy them, and it works really, really well. So again, this was an impromptu, I guess, podcast. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, it's podcasting is amazing. You should get involved with it. You can always email me. I'd love to always, answer questions, or you can Snapchat me. I'm trying to make that my main place to have conversations, because it's easier and there's less scammers and less likely to be scammers, because if I'm talking to you, you can physically see me. And also there's a lot of scammers of me out there on Instagram. So don't ever give me your money unless we're talking face to face through a Zoom call, or me personally, or you can verify that it is me. All right. Well, thank you so much. That does it for today's show. Always remember to be thankful, grateful, and kind. And you guys have a good day. Bye. Thank you for listening to The Age of Jeremy. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. If you can do me a favor, please rate this podcast if your podcatcher allows you to. Talk to you soon.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.